Good day everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to another review. Today I have yet another cheap Chinese smartphone called the Leagoo M5. Inside this phone we have a MediaTek processor, it's a quad-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of internal storage and running Android 6. The phone costs under $80 and I have to say that it does look pretty good for under $80. Of course you can find some links in the video's description if you wanna check it out. Now, what's different about this phone? Well, for starters, it does have Gorilla Glass 4, at least that's what they say. I did try to scratch the screen a couple of times and nothing happened, so it does have some type of Gorilla Glass. I'm not sure if it's Gorilla Glass 4 or not, however, the screen doesn't get scratched as easily as most Chinese phones do. So I'm pretty happy to see that for a phone that's under $80. Taking a look at the back of the phone, it's very difficult to say that this phone costs under $80. So the back is made out of this shiny plastic that has a very cool pattern onto it. Yeah, you cannot say that this phone costs under $80. It doesn't look that cheap. Aside from that, we even have a fingerprint scanner. So a fingerprint scanner for under $80. Yeah, that's crazy. So the fingerprint scanner, since we are talking about it, it works 99% of the time and it is rather fast. I mean, it's not going to be as fast as a Samsung device, however, it does work fairly well. Aside from that, we have a 5 megapixel camera sensor, the flash, and all the way at the bottom we have the speaker. Now, because the speaker is sitting onto the back of the device, it is very easy to cover with your hand when you're trying to watch something. So that's the only downside I see. I wish the speaker would have been at the bottom or onto the front of the device. Now, removing the back cover will reveal the battery. So the phone has a 2300 milliamp battery. Now, about the battery. For me personally, I was not able to make it through an entire day on one battery charge. I barely got like an hour of screen time. However, the phone was in standby for over a day. But the battery will not make it through an entire day. I mean, it really depends on the user, what they do with the phone and so on. But yeah, for me personally, I cannot make it through an entire day on one battery. Aside from the battery, we do see two SIM card slots. So you can use two SIM cards in the same time and a memory card. And since I'm talking about memory cards and this device has Android 6, now you can install a memory card as internal memory, so this makes the internal storage of the device much higher. So you're not going to be running out of space installing games and so on. So a very cool thing. Moving on to the phone's frame. So the frame is made out of metal and it does have these cool edges that makes it much easier to hold the phone in one hand. However, even like this, it is difficult to reach the top of the screen with one hand. So unless you have really big hands, you're not going to be able to reach the top of the screen holding the phone in one hand. On the right hand side of the phone we're gonna find the power button and the volume keys. They're also made out of metal and they do feel very nice to touch. On top of the phone we just see the 3.5mm audio jack and nothing else. Onto the left hand side there is nothing, so the phone looks nice and clean, and all the way at the bottom we're gonna find the 3.5mm audio jack and the microphone. Now the front of the device. So we already know that the screen is covered by some type of Gorilla Glass and it doesn't get scratched easily. So we have a 5-inch screen with a resolution of 720p. Not the best resolution, but let's keep in mind the price of the device. The viewing angles aren't the best out there, so if you're not looking straight at the phone, you're not going to be able to see it that well. And the screen doesn't get that bright. So if you do take the phone outside in bright daylight, you're going to have trouble seeing the screen. This is something that we see for most of these Chinese devices. The screens just don't get bright enough. However, let's keep in mind again the price of the phone. So they can't spend that much money on great screens and so on. Another important thing about the screen is the screen sensitivity. So you can touch the screen in 3 places in the same time and the screen will register. So it does seem to work much better than most of these cheap Chinese phones, which is a very good thing because for most phones, yeah, the screen just sucks. The screen sensitivity is not great. However, onto this one, it does seem to go very well. Aside from the screen, we do have a 2 megapixel camera out there and a proximity and light sensor. The buttons at the bottom of the screen do not light up. For some reason I thought that they do light up, however no, they don't light up, and we also do not have a notification light onto this device. Now the phone's UI. So believe it or not, this phone reminds me of an iPhone. Yeah, this is not the first time when a Chinese Android device reminds me of an iPhone. So they're trying to copy a bit of an iPhone. We don't have an app drawer, we do have a couple of themes that we can choose from. We have like a news feed. However, I do find that this launcher that they are using, it's slowing down the phone. So the first thing I would do when getting this phone is installing Nova Launcher or any other launcher because it's gonna speed up the phone. Aside from that, the settings app. The settings app, it's rather easy to use, very organized, nothing that special about it. We do have a couple of smart features as they call them. So we can double tap onto the screen to wake it up. So it does work really good. They don't call it double tap to wake up, they call it something else. However, that's technically what it is. You double tap onto the screen and the screen wakes up. Aside from that, we do have another smart feature as they call it, which is if you swipe 3 fingers onto the screen at the same time, it will take a screenshot. And I kind of like that feature, to be really honest. So Android 6, 16 gigs of internal storage, that out of that we have about 11 and a half left, a whole bunch of languages to choose from, so you can really customize this phone however you want if you install another launcher. We already know that the phone is not the absolute fastest out there, so the internal memory speed and the RAM are appropriate for this price of the device. Not the fastest, not the slowest, just appropriate. Also, the Antutu score is at about 24,000, which is very normal for this processor and RAM. And also the Geekbench, the multi-core score, it's about 1200, which is again normal for this type of processor and RAM. So the benchmarks seem to be in line with this processor and RAM for most of these Chinese devices. And since we are talking about how well the device works, the GPS inside the device seems to do very well. It takes about 20 seconds or so for the device to connect to the satellites, and Google Maps also works very good. So no issues with the GPS whatsoever. And since we are talking about sensors, the sensors inside the phone are not that many, as you'd expect, because it is a cheap phone. So we only have 3 sensors, however, they do work very good, and we don't have any fake sensors, because most of the cheap devices from China do fake sensors for some reason. But yeah, this one doesn't fake any sensors, and they do work okay. I know that some of you are wondering if the phone has root access from the factory, so no, unfortunately this phone does not come with root access from the factory. Moving on to connectivity. So this is a 3G only device. Making phone calls, receiving phone calls works like any other phone, no issues whatsoever. The speaker on top here is loud enough so you can hear anybody you're talking to, and people seem to hear me okay as well. So no issues whatsoever with the connectivity. And since we are talking about this, on the speed test tab on Wi-Fi, so this phone can only connect to the 2.4 GHz network, we get a speed of about 40 or so. And on 3G, a normal speed for 3G, I know it is much better to have a 4G device. However, we do get a lot for this cheap 3G device. Using apps onto the phone does go very good. I mean, as good as this processor can handle. The Play Store works like you'd expect on any smartphone. The YouTube app, you can watch videos at the maximum screen resolution, which is 720p. However, the videos do go very smooth. Now, keep in mind the speaker is on the back, and even though it gets quite loud, it is very easy to cover. Using Chrome also works okay, but the pages take a bit to load. So if you do have patience and let the pages load, they do go okay afterwards. So you can scroll up, down without any issues whatsoever. If you want to check out a gaming test that I did with the phone, I'm gonna leave a link in the top right corner or the video's description. And yes, all the games that I tried with the phone worked really good. So no issues with games and apps and anything like that. Now, one of the most important things for smartphones these days, the camera. So the rear camera is a 5 megapixel sensor and the front facing camera is a 2 megapixel sensor. So not the best cameras out there. However, let's keep in mind the price of the device and all the other things that it has. The camera app looks a lot like the camera app that you would find on an iPhone. It is fast enough for the processor that the phone has. You can tap on the screen wherever you want the camera to focus, and it does seem to do okay. I mean, it's not the fastest camera, and in low light conditions, yeah, it doesn't do that good. And speaking about low light conditions and normal conditions, pictures taken in great light, they do look okay. I mean, I don't have any issues with them considering the price of the device. Let's keep that in mind. However, if you do take any pictures at nighttime, yeah, they don't turn out great. The same with the front-facing camera. If you do take pictures in good light, they are okay, they're acceptable. However, if it's dark, yeah, no, not good. But for video calling and anything like that, they should do just fine. And because it's time to conclude this video, the two things that I don't like about the phone are the battery life. So I wish the phone would have had a, I don't know, 3500 milliamp battery so I can make it through an entire day. Yeah, it only has a 2300 milliamp battery, so the battery I don't like. And the second thing that I don't like is the phone's UI. However, that can be changed if you install any other launcher. Aside from that, everything seems to go very, very good. I'm happy to see that we have scratch resistant glass onto this phone, so it's not gonna look horrible in 2-3 weeks. And the phone does look really, really good. I mean, we do get a metal frame, a back that looks exceptionally good. So overall, this phone, it's a pretty good buy. I mean, if you get like a battery pack to go with it and you can just charge it on the go, or if you're not a heavy user, it should do just fine. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like it, please press the like button. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.